Hello and welcome. You're with us here on Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. Infosys top boss optimistic about IT sector growth. Parekh believes that global IT spending is in good shape and the company sees continued strength in US and European markets. Government will re-evaluate airfare cap depending on ATF price movements, says Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. Jet fuel prices on an upward trajectory in the wake of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict.
There's been almost a 3x increase in the price of ATF, and therefore ATF has become a 50% portion of an airline's cost structure, which earlier used to be 40% because of the rise in ATF prices.
WhatsApp announces 3 new privacy features which allow users to exit the group silently, control who can see when you're online, and prevent screenshots on view once messages. Over 15 million Indian users stuck in limbo as WazirX and Binance offer no clarity on ownership. Sources say WazirX exploring legal route amid an ownership dispute with the world's largest exchange. What does it mean for India crypto investors? We'll tell you more about that. Over the past few weeks, we've seen reports of WhatsApp developing a myriad of new features for privacy-conscious users. And today, the Meta-owned messaging giant has announced 3 such privacy features that will start rolling out to all users in the coming weeks. This includes the ability to silently exit groups, block screenshot capture for view one's photos in WhatsApp, and hide online status from the contacts of your choice. Let's head across to our tech editor, Ayush Walawadi, for more on this. Ayush?
In his latest blog post, Mark Zuckerberg has announced a bunch of new features for WhatsApp. They'll be rolled out in the coming days, but most of these features are aimed at enhancing the privacy and security of WhatsApp conversations. In fact, he's actually said this in his Instagram story and that blog post. He said that he wants to make these conversations on WhatsApp as private and secure as face-to-face conversations. But how do all of these features really stack up, and do they really make a difference to your user experience? Well, let's find out. Important feature number 1, leaving groups silently. Now, all of us are on WhatsApp groups, not just family groups, even work groups. And sometimes you end up leaving a group or you are removed from a group. Now, either way, it's an awkward situation where everyone on that group gets a notification that so-and-so has left the group or has been removed from the group. Now, later this month, the new feature will allow you to leave a WhatsApp group silently. Apart from the admin of that group, no one needs to know that you've exited the group. The next one is quite a useful feature, especially if you want to decide how to keep your online presence private. Now, we're using WhatsApp all the time. We're getting notifications and messages on groups. What if you could decide who gets to see that you're online? Maybe you only want your mum or someone special to know you're online. Maybe you don't want your boss to know that you're online, or anyone randomly messaging you on WhatsApp. That is a feature which will also be rolled out later this month, and I think that would be quite a useful one. Because earlier you could decide who gets to see when you were last seen online, and that could be someone from your contact list, a bunch of people on your contact list, or everyone in general. Now it's a lot more specific. You can decide which particular person knows you're online. This is a useful addition, and of course we'll see this later this month. Well, that was me taking a screenshot. Now, if you're trying to be sneaky and someone has sent you a view once message, that is for private viewing and one-time viewing only. If you're taking a screenshot of that, that is not cool. So, WhatsApp is actually working on a new screenshot blocking feature for view once messages. I think that can be very useful, especially for a lot of us who are using the app. And in India, there's a whole bunch of us using the app. Now, a year or 2 ago, a lot of people started using other apps, especially during the lockdowns. Telegram, for one, Signal as well. Look, WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted, but if they're talking about these several layers of interlocking for more privacy and security, it's only a good thing. Of course, we'll be testing them on Tech Today, so stay tuned to Business Today for more.
Thank you for that, Ayush. Now, the pace of flows into equity mutual fund schemes slowed in July as investors refrained from fresh purchases, even amid rebound in the stock market. Flows into equity schemes in July dropped 42%. Even investments by new investors in SIPs saw a sharp decline. Are mutual funds, which were the go-to investment for many for the past 2 years, not so attractive anymore? To learn more about this, we're joined by Feroz Aziz, Deputy CEO at Anand Rathi Wealth Management. Feroz, take us through really the trend currently, because even with markets logging stellar gains, inflows in mutual funds have seen a sharp decline. What do you think is happening here? Is it just profit booking? What else is making investors nervous?
See, I think, of course, like you saw, 42% dip in the equity mutual fund net mobilization for the industry over the month of July, which is a reasonable dip from the numbers in June. The silver lining on in the black cloud is the fact that when the markets are high, which July was a month where Nifty saw 8% growth, mid-cap and small mid-cap index especially outperformed Nifty by 1% almost. 0.8%. So point I'm trying to get to is, in the month of July, when the markets did well, people actually booked some profits. Like June and May, we had reasonable inflows. So finally, I think the investors are learning to buy low and sell high as against the opposite. So I think that's to look at the number more positively. July has given some respite to mutual fund investors by moving up 8%. And that's where I think some degree of profit taking has happened. But the SIP numbers are encouraging at 12,000 crore plus.
Feroz, now the number of SIP investors, as you just mentioned, let's talk about those, because the fact that that's declining as well, it makes you wonder, what really should investors be doing then?
No, actually, Abha, what's happened is, now if I look at the numbers from April, April was 11,800, then it was 12,280 if I'm not wrong, then it was again at 12,200, and the fourth month of this financial year, it has come to 12,120.
Yeah.
So there's not been a significant movement upwards or downwards, especially during the first quarter of this financial year. Markets have given a lot of challenges in terms of movement sideways or downwards, except July. In spite of that, the retail has stuck strong, and the retail sentiment has resulted in close to 12,120 crores again in July. If this was coupled with a decline in the total net flow, and if this number had come down, I would be very, very disappointed. I'm actually scared for the retail faith in the capital markets, especially equity.
Okay. All right. So somewhat reassuring. What are your top picks for investing in mutual funds, Feroz? If you had a top 5, funds that perhaps you were looking at right now.
Abha, I think top 5, I'll stick to certain different categories. First one, which I would say is a contrarian bet, which is SBI Contra, especially during when there are markets moving either ways reasonably fast. This fund, which is managed by Dinesh, of the largest fund house, SBI Contra, is something which is a small scheme, has a larger potential from a future standpoint. Then going to the more conventional category, which is the mid-cap category, Kotak Emerging Equities. Pankaj Tibrewal manages this. His key specialty is to be able to smell businesses much before the market wakes up to those potentials. That's the second fund. ICICI Pru Focused Equity, which is a focused fund which acts like high conviction, concentrated bets. Prakash Gaurav Goyal, who is the young, bright fund manager, which will be my third choice. The fourth will be Invesco India Multicap. Tahir Badshah, who is the CIO. I have immense faith that this fund, from a future potential, can throw up reasonable extra return over the benchmark. And the last one, which is a conventional category again, the FlexiCap category, Canara Robeco FlexiCap. These 5 funds from 5 different categories, I think, could form a complementary portfolio for a new investor.
All right, Feroz, great chatting with you as always, and thanks for joining us here on Business Today. Now, the Binance WazirX feud has been going on since last Friday, and there's no clarity on ownership. It's impacted 15 million Indian crypto investors. Sources say that WazirX exploring the legal route amid an ownership dispute with the world's largest exchange. Akanksha Chaturvedi joining us more on this. Akanksha, take us through really details about the feud, what it's about, and what it means for crypto investors.
The latest development in the Binance WazirX feud is the fact that Binance has urged all users to transfer funds from WazirX to Binance, as the exchange has halted off-chain transfers to WazirX. Interestingly, off-chain transfers were on the Enforcement Directorate's radar, since technically there is no record of these financial transactions because they take place off the blockchain network. Moreover, 15 million Indian crypto investors have been left in limbo as Binance CEO Changpeng Zhao has tweeted multiple times that his exchange could shut down WazirX. Furthermore, the WazirX exchange native token, the WRX cryptocurrency, has tanked over 15% since the spat broke out between the founders of WazirX and Binance. Investors fear that the WRX token, which was used on WazirX to get discounts on the trading fees, would soon get delisted of Binance. This would cause a massive loss of wealth for people who had invested in this cryptocurrency. The Twitter spat started on Friday after ED froze nearly 65 crore rupee worth of bank assets owned by WazirX director Sameer Mahatre. Changpeng Zhao, the founder of Binance, claimed that Binance did not acquire WazirX parent entity in 2019, while Nichal Shetty contradicted Zhao's claims and said that WazirX had been acquired by Zhao's company. Legal experts and industry insiders are mulling if this incident is a wake-up call for regulation, especially for the crypto industry, to ensure consumer protection.
Let's head across now to N.S. Napinai, Advocate, Supreme Court and founder of Cyber Sathi. Thanks so much for joining us. If you could tell us, amid the ongoing spat between the two companies, WazirX users have been hurt the most. Off-chain transfers to the exchange have been halted and the native token of the exchange has crashed about 15%. Is there a legal remedy, Napinai, in place which investors can use against these companies to cover their losses?
Firstly, what has been stopped is the off-chain transaction. You know, in terms of the legality of it also one needs to evaluate because the entire process of off-chain as a choice is something that is being chosen more for the anonymity, the higher level of anonymity that is being provided. So in effect, it almost becomes more like an IOU where nothing is transferred, but on paper, physically, you are recording something as having been transferred, etc. So when you're trying to take blockchain-enabled transactions to the next level, in terms of trying to circumvent the transparency that blockchain is giving, the very process itself may come under question pursuant to the ED's investigation. So the first thing is, it's definitely not good news for the companies. With respect to the investors, they cannot seek anything beyond what is their right, the contractual right with the company or the exchange that they are dealing with. So where a process has been stopped pursuant to an enforcement directorate or a government agency's action, invariably there would not be much scope for you to question the same. What you would have in hand, however, will be what you can seek as a remedy from the company, and for that, the contractual terms of WazirX with its customers, or for the matter, Binance with its customers, will prevail.
Right. Ms. Napinai, were the governments and Reserve Bank right to caution investors against cryptocurrencies, in your opinion?
I have been very vocal on that topic, where I have said that it was actually not enough for RBI to just caution. So your question begs the issue in terms of were they right to caution? Of course they were right to caution, but were they right to just caution? That was not enough. We have now waited long enough. If you recollect, one of the earliest cautions that came was as far back as 2013. We are in 2022, so nearly 10 years down the line. And are we still talking about caution? We are still talking about a probable regulation. We are still talking about first a consultation paper before regulation 10 years down the line. So my short answer to that would be a caution was fine, but it was not enough. It had to be a lot more. I have always batted for and continue to bat for regulation for this domain.
Does this incident highlight the need for regulation in the crypto markets? That will, of course, be the big question on everyone's mind.
Well, the first step for the government is to actually do something about it. The time for thought, the time for discussion, the time for just peroration is gone. We need action and we need it fast. And any form of regulation, whichever turn it takes, can only help this industry. Because either you will have certainty in terms of where India stands, or you will have certainty in terms of what is permissible and what is not. And that is what the clarity and certainty that any investor needs to ensure that their investment is duly protected. Today, investors are left with no real remedies except a contractual remedy at best, which is going to be very long drawn. And instead of clarity or certainty in terms of whatever they have done, there is going to be a sense of fear in terms of how their own actions of, let's say, an off-chain transaction will be viewed if they go for remedy. So certainty is actually good for investors. So I always say that, people should not shy away from regulations. It's good for all stakeholders involved, and it will give clarity provided the government acts, and this is the way forward for government. Give certainty, take a definitive stand. If not for the sake of the industry, if not for the sake of the government, then certainly for the sake of investors.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on that big story taking the crypto world by storm. As India completes 75 years of independence, its success story lies behind its economic policies. India's remarkable journey from nationalization to privatization has been a significant milestone in its independent era. Major companies like Air India, Tata Communications, Maruti Suzuki have been privatized to become worthy assets. Watch this special by my colleague Karishma, who takes you through this journey of disinvestment in the economy at 75.
As India celebrates 75 years of independence, its growth trajectory as one of the world's largest democracies is acknowledged as a global success story. It is crucial to take note of the policy measures and strategies that contributed to both its economic and socio-economic development. Rapid industrialization, creation of public enterprises and subsidies to promote the use of modern agriculture methods and tools have been recognized by experts as some of the early strategies for economic development. However, in this process, its journey from nationalization to privatization cannot be missed. This is the story of disinvestment in its independent India. It started in 1969 when then Prime Minister of India Indira Gandhi had declared her decision to nationalize 14 major private banks. In 1980, government nationalized a set of another 6 private banks. However, for the first 4 decades after independence, while country was pursuing a path of development, that public sector overgrew itself and its shortcomings, resulting in low efficiency, low capacity utilization and low outputs. Hence, a decision was taken in 1991 to follow the path of disinvestment. In 1991-1992, 31 selected public sector undertakings were disinvested for Rs 3,000 crore, followed by which a disinvestment commission was also set in 1996. The Department of Disinvestment was set up as a separate department in December 1999 and was later renamed as Ministry of Disinvestment from 2001. From 2004, the Department of Disinvestment became one of the key departments under Ministry of Finance. The 4 major areas of its work related to strategic disinvestment, minority stake sales, asset monetization and capital restructuring. Some of the companies that have witnessed a strategic sale are Bharat Aluminium, Hindustan Zinc Limited, Indian Tourism Development Corporation, Hotel Corporation of India, Maruti Suzuki India, Tata Communication India and of course Air India, and of course the list goes on. For the last financial year, Modi government set an ambitious target of 1,75,000 crore but was only able to achieve about 13,500 crore. For this financial year, government aims to achieve its target of 65,000 crore with big sales like LIC Phase 1, which has already been done, and to follow is IDBI, Shipping Corporation of India and Concor. DIPAM has reiterated that the aim of disinvestment is not targets but making worthy deals. In fact, DIPAM says that its modest disinvestment receipt target of 65,000 crore is not a reflection of the government slowing down on privatization but is based on realism and a focus on smooth execution of transactions instead of chasing a high number.
Is it a laptop or is it a tablet? The new HP Spectre X360 is here. It's the top convertible laptop in the market. What are some of the new features in this version? Ayush Alabadi brings you this unboxing.
In the tech world, the month of August is all about foldables. So if it's foldable season, we're not only talking about the Samsung Fold and the Flip. We're very excited about those next week on Tech Today. But this week, I have a very special convertible. A 2-in-1, one of the best flagship 2-in-1s in the market, has sort of gotten better. Or has it gotten better? That's the question we're asking on the show this week. The HP Spectre X360. Is this convertible enough to convert all the Apple MacBook fanboys? Well, that's what we're going to find out. The camera becomes a big selling point with this laptop and a lot of other laptops in this price category, even the MacBook. Apple has tried to improve that front-facing camera. I think a lot of this has happened since 2020, when a lot of us have been working from home, working from anywhere, taking Zoom calls, FaceTime calls. Well, that's when this camera scores really high because of some of the software features. The first feature that strikes me is this button, which is a camera blocker, which is a small software hack. It gives you a grill out here, and that completely blocks out your camera with one button here in the function bar. That's really cool. Maybe the others can also take a cue, especially when we're getting so concerned about privacy and security nowadays, as we rightly should. This is a very cool feature. Turn the camera back on, and the minute the camera is on, it obviously has face tracking. It has a lot of AI tools which make it kind of interesting. But then you have HP's enhanced lighting. The minute you launch this app, the entire interface changes. As you can see, I will have a ring light installed on the screen and there's no extra hardware needed. Again, hats off to the guys at HP. They are working on software. What can you do with this light? You can change the field of view. You can change the color that it emits, which I think is kind of cool. And then the intensity can be reduced. The intensity can be increased. I think it's a very cool feature. When a lot of us have purchased ring lights at home, you don't need unnecessary extra hardware. The last time we used a Nothing Phone 1 as a ring light, this time we have it embedded in the screen. That is fascinating, but that's not all. There are other small features with the camera when it comes to noise reduction, autofocus, auto tracking, which make this quite a good 1080p front camera. Well, let me sum it up for you. If you're on the market for a laptop and a tablet or a 2-in-1 and you're okay with Windows, then this is one of the top premium offerings. A lot like the top-end Microsoft Surface laptops. But if this is not your thing and you want to spend anything upwards of 1,20,000, remember, you are getting into the MacBook Air M2 range, and that is an absolute beast of a machine. The choice is all yours.
And that's where we leave it on the show tonight. Thanks so much for watching.